Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode, could you believe it? It's episode 710. Now, in today's episode, we're talking about how to overcome fears and anxieties. It is probably the most common thing that I get to work with, anxieties and fears and phobias. I mean, usually it's like the imposter syndrome, or the beliefs of not being good enough, which creates anxiety, right? Creates fear within people. The fear of rejection, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being found out. All of those things get in our way. So that's what I wanted to break down to you today. Now, of course, this is being broadcasted live on YouTube and, or mainly YouTube, which is josephclough.com/josephclough. If you want to be a part of the pre-show and the slight after show, that means I get to know you that bit more. We go live 3 times per week. But with that, let's get into the details when it comes to fear, anxiety, and hey, why not include phobias, right? If you got a phobia, bring it to the party and let's just see what we can do with it. So, number 1, I want us to recognize and realize the first step of change is the conscious and the unconscious awareness of what our mind is doing. You see, I see it all the time, and it's easy as to why I would, because many people are so disappointed that they have a fear, that they have anxiety. They're so angry for why they feel like the way that they do, right? They maybe have shame, maybe have guilt, maybe they feel hurt, maybe they feel angry, maybe they feel resentful as to why they are like they are. But I want you to know that is easily understood as to why we would feel that way, number 1. But it will be detrimental to your success in letting go of any form of anxiety and fear, because when you start to hate or have shame as to why you are like you are, or the behaviors you do, in terms of the behavior being the fear and the anxiety, you are actually creating a deeper conflict within yourself, because you're starting to hate not only yourself, but the phobia. But who runs that anxiety, fear, or phobia? Well, it is your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind is running these associations, these reactions, these decisions, these belief systems to make you think you should be fearful of something. So when you are angry or any negative emotion toward the issue, you're technically hating or being angry at your unconscious mind. Now, all people who have issues are disconnected from who they really are. They're out of rapport with who they really are. And more importantly, they're out of rapport with their unconscious mind. So once we start to have that hate, that dislike, that anger toward the unconscious mind because of the issue, it drives a wedge. I always say the analogy, let's just say you had a child, and if you have one, or if not, hallucinate if you did, you came home one day and they drew you a beautiful picture, but it so happened to be on a brand new painted wall. Now, of course, in that moment, you might get a little bit frustrated, a bit angry, but why did the child do that? Well, I said they wanted to paint you a picture. They wanted to please you. They wanted to make you happy. They wanted to impress you. So now change that little child to be your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind may not make all the best decisions. It may not do the best behaviors. It might give you a panic attack. It might give you the phobia. It may give you the anxiety. It may give you that worrying doubt that you wake up in the middle of the night and you just cannot sleep. But like a child, it was trying to please you. And that goes into my second point, because number 1 is we don't want to create more conflict by hating ourselves, because we're hating our unconscious mind. And it goes into the analogy of that child painting you a picture. What is it trying to do? What is every fear trying to do? What is every phobia trying to do? What is every form of anxiety trying to do? And I say trying because the word trying comes from the word like triad. Like it's never going to succeed. Even try, I'm going to try and make it. How often do you really make it compared to saying, I will be there? So your unconscious mind is trying to do something to fulfill a strategy and a behavior to do one thing. And we can say in different words, but it's going to be safety. Different word, protection. It's a safety and protective mechanism. For some reason, somewhere along the line, it made a decision. Now, the good thing is, and I'm going to get to it now, if your unconscious mind decided along the way to have a fear or to have anxiety or to have a phobia, and it decides just like that, it may have had many events leading up to it, but to actually have a completion of it, to be anxious, a completion to have the phobia or the habit or the association, it takes a moment. The good news is, if it takes a moment to create an issue, it takes a moment to undo it and create a new one. So remember, your unconscious mind is trying to protect you, and it did so usually under a couple of conditions, and usually at the same time. Doesn't have to be, but usually it's the same time. Number one, anxiety-based ideas, thoughts, and feelings, the inner voice that we have, or the fears or the phobias that we have. Decisions were made when we were under stress. Maybe there was a one-time event in our life, maybe like say a driving phobia, where we had a panic attack, or we had anxiety, or we felt like we were going to faint, or we're going to lose control. In that moment, your unconscious mind remembers it and goes, driving is not safe. You might get out of control. This might happen. Or maybe it's about presentations, maybe it's about charging what you're worth, maybe it's about feeling like an imposter in your career. Maybe there was an event along the way that it was kind of like, I would call a significant emotional event. So it's significant, therefore important to you. Emotional, because there was emotion there, that in that event, it made a decision. And in that decision, it started to then have a gateway into either allowing it to spread into other areas of our life, or it just consistently did the same thing over and over again to condition itself to keep on repeating the same behavior of anxiety or phobia. Think of anxiety. It's focusing on all the things you don't want to happen. So we know that it's trying to protect you, trying to foresee the future in what could go wrong to prepare for it. The problem is 99.9% of the time, that thing you're thinking about would have never happened. But it just gets us out of control. And that fear gets us out of control. That phobia gets us out of that control. And it just gets conditioned to do the same habit over and over again. Now, the other time is that we could have been very, very young. So yes, significant, important to you, emotional, there was an intense feeling, and there was an event. But those events could have happened, maybe it was an adult, maybe it was an intense situation, but for many of us, it could have been when we were very, very young, in our formative years. Between 0 and 7 in sociology, they say is our imprint age, where we're just fresh, we're just open, so maybe you did not know better. Maybe between 7 and 14, that's our modeling stage. Either way, we did not know better. So we made a decision based on the knowledge and information that we had at that time. Now, guess what? How much knowledge and information did you have? Let's just say if it was 6 years old. Or how much knowledge and information did you have to make a good decision when you're 25 years old under that amount of stress? You don't usually make good decisions when you're young or under a good amount of stress, even when we're older. So just think that number 2, your unconscious mind made a decision to try to protect you. It tried to make a quick decision on your behalf, and it became a habit in every single way. And number 3, it kind of like builds up this association, this thought process, this intense feeling, a learned association. So if you think about the thing that you're anxious about, you will have a certain association to it. Let's take that example of the driving phobia, right? So, and we'll break down a couple of them. But let's just say we have that driving phobia. Now, of course, every time you think of driving, If your neurology has been conditioned, you will have a feeling evoked from you every time you think of driving. Wherever you not be near a car, wherever you get in the car, just the thought of a car, or maybe a highway, or maybe a certain kind of road or a certain kind of trip, you will have this association at a neurological unconscious level. And that means you become more conditioned in that association. You may have certain thoughts. Let's take another good example. Let's just say it was about getting a promotion. You had maybe tried in the past and you didn't get it. You had the fear of failure, the fear of rejection again, the fear of being found out. That internal dialogue goes, what if I do get found out? What if I do fail again? And if you think of just those words, what if negative, you then come up with all the scenarios of what if negative. What if I fail? You're thinking of failure, of how it's going to go, what people are going to look like or think of you, all of those things. So our unconscious mind goes through all these different layers of thinking, from the emotional to the thought process, to the belief systems, to our values, to the memories, to our personality types. It's like filters through all this information based on your past experience and makes a decision go, I am not going to get this promotion. Or what if I look silly, sound silly, and so on. You see, whether we class things as anxiety or fears or phobias, it is just really a conditioned habit. So, a little kind of playful exercise just for a moment to you. I want you to maybe think about something that you've been anxious about. Or I want you to think about something that you're fearful of. I want you to maybe think of, maybe you got a phobia. Now, as you think about either one of those things, because we're collecting it as one for the mass audience, if that makes sense, because not everyone has a phobia, not everyone has anxiety, but they may have that fear. So just go ahead and choose one. They may kind of be combination, hopefully not, that you got a fear, phobia, and anxiety all together. They're all one of the same thing though, really, aren't they? But just go ahead and bring that to your mind. As you bring that to your mind, you have a certain picture in your mind. Now, maybe it's up front and close. Maybe you're looking through your own eyes. Maybe it's vivid. Maybe it's big and bold. All of those things. Maybe it's far away. Maybe it's very dim. Maybe it's very to one side of you. Maybe you're seeing yourself in the picture. You see, most of the time though, what I would say, statistically, based on my experience, that 95% of the people are noticing the anxiety or fear, and specifically phobias, if they're looking through their own eyes. Because when they're looking through the own eyes, it feels very intense, because we're in a highly acute associative state. That's why we feel the feelings that we do. But I want you to notice maybe there's certain sounds as well, because we just did visual. And as you think about the sounds, are they your own voice? Is it other people? Is it the environment? Because if you could imagine, maybe if someone had a driving phobia, maybe they're hearing the rushing cars going by them and they're looking through their own eyes. Of course, that might be a little bit scary. Even me imagining it, I'm a little bit nervous now, right? You see, those association, the build-up of all these things, then can maybe have a feeling. Where's the location of that feeling that you fear or feel, which could be fear, which could be anxiety? Is it in the chest? Is it in the stomach? Is it all over? Is it free-floating? But the whole idea here is for you to start to become consciously aware of your unconscious mind's process, its own strategy. Usually this happens beneath the surface without even thinking about it. But once you put your awareness consciously to the unconscious process, you're starting to break things down. So notice your association. Notice the thoughts, the feelings, the sounds, the images you have of the thing that you're anxious about, or the feelings of about the fear or the phobia or whatever it is. Because that's all it is. It's just an association. Certain association to thoughts, feelings, behaviors, reactions, and so on. But wipe that off the screen for a second. Just kind of wipe it off the screen in your mind. I would like you to bring to your attention maybe something that you're really, really good at. Okay, is there anything that you're really competent at? Or maybe not even competent at or good at, but something you really, really enjoy doing. Right? You just enjoy it. And it could be totally unrelated to the fear of phobia. So for example, let's just say if it were me when I was younger, I'd be like, well, I really, really enjoy playing soccer or football, right? I really enjoyed that. Was I really good? Well, I was okay. It wasn't amazing, but I was okay at it. But when I think of playing football, I have a certain association. I used to really enjoy drawing as well. As I think of drawing, I'm going to have an association. Maybe there's a passion, maybe there's a thing that you do, something you enjoy. It could be even just socializing with your friends. It could be doing a certain hobby. It could be spending time with your pet or your partner, whatever it is. But I want you to bring your attention to one of those experiences, only one, of what you enjoy or what you're very good at. Now, as you think of that thing, I'm going to presume you also have a picture in your mind. What's the size? What's the shape? Are you looking through your own eyes or seeing yourself over there doing it? Now, as you go ahead and consider that, maybe there's going to be important sounds. Maybe internal self-talk like, I'm enjoying this, or I'm good at this, or let's go ahead and win. Whatever it is, notice the quality of those sounds, internal and external, as you bring to mind one of those things that you really enjoy or what you're very good at. Now notice the feelings. How is it different from the first experience of the fear and anxiety? Do you feel it in a different place? Is it bigger? Is it smaller? And I'm going to presume it's going to be a good feeling because you enjoy doing this good thing. Now, what makes the difference here, right? Because how has our mind been coded to have a fear for this thing, but also have a totally different level of coding to this thing that we actually enjoy? And if you think about it, if you were to go ahead and just consider moving over, changing your representation now, but doing this by yourself, it may take some time. But you know what? Sometimes time is all we have, right? If you want to get the lifetime of freedom, you better put some time in because you want it that badly. So what I would be thinking of doing is beginning to, you could say, recode the one association into the other one. What if I bring, for example, one was driving, the fear of phobia driving, one was playing football. And as I see them, they have to be the association completely different because I have great feelings to one and a phobia for the other. Well, if I bring the association of the driving phobia into how I see and how I experience and how I hold up in my mind the coding of the thing that I'm good at, and I move everything from there to here in the new place, your unconscious mind is going to have to do some coding work. And that's why I said we've got to do it a few times, because look, let's put it, if you don't get real close help and you're doing it by yourself, it can take time. Why? The reality is you've had maybe up to 50 years of programming or 10 years of programming, 10 years of doing the phobia, 10 years or 20 years or 30 years of the anxiety. So it does take some time. But if you keep on pulling over the associations, you're going to see great changes. Now, one of the key things I want to bring across here is most people, like I said, are usually looking through their own eyes, mostly when they're in a highly intense, fearful, anxious, or worried state. Like for me personally, if you don't know, you should do, because I've said it many, many times in these 700 plus episodes, I used to blush. I used to have anxiety. Now, every time I thought about it, every time I hallucinated it, every time it happened in reality, I felt everyone's attention on me. As if I was looking through a tunnel and everyone's attention was on me, and then I'd start to feel all those feelings and the blood in my cheeks and all those kind of things. It was a highly associated emotional state. The key here is, as another way of changing, is for you to pre-teach your unconscious mind. And that is to get out of that, what I would call a highly associated state of looking through your own eyes, and then stepping outside of that you and looking at you over there. And the way that I would do that very quickly, and yes, it will take time, but time is okay, because if you do it enough with consistently, you will change and transform your life. But I would hallucinate in my mind to the best of my ability before the event ever happened. So let's say if it was driving, I would imagine myself before getting into the car, looking at myself over there, about to get in the car, and then hallucinate myself over there in the car, driving where I need to drive, all the way through to the successful completion of that event. That's all I would do. I would hallucinate it over and over again. If it was about getting that extra money, saying a certain price that you want to charge your customer, but it's really new and you're a little bit hesitant, I would see myself saying the price with that confidence, with that self-certainty, delivering what has to be done, and then seeing my client or my prospective customer going, well, of course, that's a steal. I'll definitely go ahead and do that. It's going to be life-changing. So all of these things you are hallucinating in your mind from the beginning of the event to the successful completion. Have that in your mind. Things go wrong when you don't hallucinate the successful completion. Anxiety is focusing on what you don't want. So think of this as the reverse process of anxiety, of focusing on what you do want to happen. You see, once you go ahead and hallucinate how you want to be, what's going to happen to the successful completion, you've got nothing to be fearful of because you did it, you achieved it. There's nothing to have a phobia about because you didn't have one in this hallucination, in this guided rehearsal in your mind. Next step, if I were you, I would step inside that event at the successful completion and just rewind it really back, looking through your own eyes. And then step outside that you, and then see that you going through the exact same event, seeing yourself in that image, in that movie of your mind, rehearsing, seeing yourself look powerful, great in every single way. And then I would go ahead to that successful completion, step inside, look through your own eyes, and rewind it really quickly again, and repeat. That's all you do. So there's a couple of options there. You got the recoding of the mind, of the images, the sounds, and the feelings from one negative association of fear, worries, and anxieties, or phobias, all into the thing that you're good at to recode the brain, or I would say, and, because you might as well combine them while we're here, go ahead and hallucinate, because your unconscious mind doesn't know the difference really from what is real to what is imagined. Now you might go, well, that's crazy, Joseph. Of course it does. Well, when you focus on what you focus on, which is everything you don't want, what happens? You feel anxiety. So therefore your unconscious mind does feel things, believes it to be true. Otherwise you wouldn't be anxious about hallucinating of all the things you don't want to happen. In the exact same way, we know horror movies aren't that real. Hopefully not, right? But we can have a jump, a shock. We could be a little bit scared. Action movies, same thing. We know it's not true, but we are hallucinating in your mind. You ever seen a sporting event? I used to love this one, especially in football or soccer in America. That there'll be a person like kicking the ball from one side, crossing over, and then there'll be like the striker or the forward jumping up to header the ball into the net. And you see everyone in the crowd almost physically trying to jump up and header the imaginary ball in their mind because they're so with the player. They know they're not there, but the neurology is feeling it. So of course, your unconscious mind does not always distinguish between what is hallucinated and imagined from reality. So that is why we want to be able to take the custom association into something that we're good at, because it will believe it to be true with consistency. Same thing with the guided imagery rehearsal. Seeing yourself over there do it is pre-teaching your unconscious mind because it finds it hard to distinguish between reality and imagination. Now, of course, like all things, As I said, it's sometimes good to get help with this, to be guided through this, or to get even better techniques and processes and transformations and things like that. Now, of course, this is really, look, I don't like to repel the customers as such, but I only work with certain kinds of people. You got to be decisive, you got to be committed, you got to be totally invested. So invested that you're willing to do whatever it takes, even in money, even in time. I mean, it goes in 8 weeks, but with my program. But if you feel like you're a good fit and you go, look, I want to be able to let go of my anxieties, my low self-esteem. I want to progress my career. I want to charge what I'm worth. I want to be able to go up the career ladder. I want to be able to run my business bigger and better. Whatever it is, if you feel like the imposter syndrome, you can go ahead and apply. We only take on a few people because it's very customized, but you can go to josephclough.info/talk, and that is where you can start to book a call with us. When you book a call with us, you fill out an application, and we go over that application to prepare us for the call, and on the call, we go ahead and figure out where you are, where you want to be, what's getting in the way, and then we'll come up with a customized plan if we know we can solve the issue. If we can't, we'll point you in a different direction because, like I said, we can only help people we can help. I'm committed to getting the total success in every single way because I thrive off it in a great way. I want to get people out of pain and get them to their potentiality. So once again, that is josephclough.info/talk, and that way you can maybe, if you choose to go all in, let go of your issue. Now, of course, we also have the hypnosis app at freehypnosis.app. You got all these free episodes, 710. Well, not if you're listening live, we've got a bit of a backlog. But if you're listening to this on the podcast or the app right now, there's episode 710. So we've got plenty in there. Hundreds of hypnosis sessions. You can listen in the day. You can listen as you go to sleep at night. It's an extension, it guides you off to sleep. You can create custom hypnosis sessions. Now, if you've got any value from this episode, even just one small bit of value that you go, well, that makes a bit of sense. I'm going to start to apply that. If you've got any form of value, please go ahead and leave us a review, because when you leave a review, you're giving other people permission to download the free work, because they feel comfortable that a stranger is saying, you know what? Give this app a try. And that means they don't have to buy anything. They can just listen to all the free episodes. I'm happy for them to do that, but you never know. Your kind words may actually change your life. And if you change one life, the ripple effects of that one life can go, I don't know, in the most amazing way. So I would love you to be a part of our journey of helping as many people as possible in every single way. And for those listening right now, well, I'm also dedicating to releasing sleep hypnosis sessions on YouTube. We just released, if you're live, just yesterday, an imposter syndrome 4-hour sleep hypnosis. And all of the other ones we're releasing right now is pretty immense, pretty crazy cool, but I want to be able to hopefully serve you all in any way that I can, even from a distance if you're unable to work with me personally. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, it is simply a decision that was made, and a new decision can be made to let go of what no longer serves. I honestly generally believe in you. I believe you're deserving, worthy, and able to achieve what you desire. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing all this. I promise you that. I really wouldn't. I've been there, overcame it, and I know you can too. I see it day in, day out. So let's get to work, make the change, and do what has to be done. Many thanks, and goodbye.